Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for tuning in to my channel. My name is Patrick Tawia Matope, and on this channel, I talk about social work because I am a social worker by profession, and I've been doing this job for the past 19 years. Some of the tips which I give on this channel are not necessarily exhaustive or on the topics that I'll be delivering, but these are nuggets from my own practice and from my own experiences. So don't take it as gospel, but it's just tips that will help you open your mind in terms of what you need to be doing in particular circumstances, or to open your mind in terms of how we do our work. If you're not a social worker, you may have a better understanding of how social workers do their work really. Thank you so much for tuning. So if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, hit the notification bell so that when I post next time, you will be the first person to know, and you'll be able to view and actually share with others really. So in today's topic, I'm just going to be talking about a few tips when it comes to safety planning. I'm going to be giving you 10 tips really. Or let me give you 12 really, about safety planning. As you know, in children's safeguarding work, or in assessment work, safety planning is one of the most crucial things that we do as children safeguarding social workers in England really. It will also actually help ensuring that the well-being of the children and the protection of vulnerable children that we work with is actually upheld. So safety planning is one of the most important things that we do. So in this video today, I'm just going to give you a few tips, about 12 of them, on what you need to be doing for you to be to come up with with effective safety planning really. One of the most important things before I jump into the video is making sure that your safety plan is a standalone document on the child's file and is visible to colleagues, is visible to everybody else who is going to be looking on that particular file. So the things that you may need to be doing also is to make sure that there is an updated case summary on that particular file, there is an updated chronology on that particular file, there is an updated genogram on that particular file almost at all times. And you have a standalone safety plan which is easily visible to somebody who is going to be looking at that file for the first time, or to somebody who is working with the out of hour service, because anything can happen whilst you're away on a weekend, and then you come back on a Monday. If the safety plan is there, it's easier for the EDT or for the out of hours team to figure out exactly what needs to be done in a case of an emergency. So it's really important, good practice for us to make sure that we have got a standalone safety plan on the file. But how do we actually come up with a robust or an effective safety plan? So these are the points which I'm going to be sharing with you today. The first one is to make sure that you assess the risks associated, or the risks being posed to that particular child or children. So it means you need to conduct a thorough risk assessment to identify any potential dangers to that particular child or children, including the risks posed by family members. Because remember, they could be intrafamilial risk, or it could be extrafamilial risk. Extrafamilial risk is risk outside that child's particular home, or intrafamilial is risk within the child's family or family setup. It could be the immediate family or the extended family. That's intrafamilial risk really. Or the risk posed by caregivers, where a child is going to other caregivers, or the risks posed by other individuals immediately within that child's immediate environment. It could be within the street that they live in, or within the terrace of houses that they live in, or within the big flat which they live in. So I think that's really important to make sure that you assess the risk. That's first point. And then point number two, you need to evidence the voice of the child in your safety planning. The child needs to be, depending with the age, appropriateness of the age of the child, you need to listen to what the child is saying. Actively listen to the child, take their concerns seriously, encourage them to communicate with you openly, or to communicate with other trusted professionals, either in school or the health visitor openly, or the school nurse openly, and provide a safe space for that particular child to express themselves without fear of repercussions. And if you feel that the child is not going to be opening up to you, think about any other support service that can be put in place. It could be Banados, it could be Children's Society, it could be any other support service that you think, a mentor or an independent visitor that you think that child can actually open up to. But it's important to make sure that your safety plan is, incorporating the voice of the child. Point number 3, you need to make sure that you involve multi-agents collaboration. Why do I say this? Working collaboratively with other agencies or other professionals involved in the child's life, it could be healthcare providers, it could be educators, it could be law enforcement, helps you to gather comprehensive information, and that will help you to manage, analyze, and assess the risk that you are dealing with. It will also help you develop or come up with the most robust safety plan, which is gonna be collaborated by other professionals. Because remember, though you are the lead professional, but you work collaboratively with other agencies, really. So if they are also aware of that safety plan, it will be enforceable. It will be easy for them to actually know what needs to be done. For example, if the health visitor knows what the safety plan is, they should be able to actually support you in making sure that the safety plan is adhered to, and it's a viable and a smart plan at the end of the day, really. Right. So point number 4, it's important for you to identify the most important networks for that particular child. When I talk of networks for that particular child, it could be friends and family. It could be other professionals who are really helpful to that particular, family. So you need to identify supportive family members and friends, or appropriate community resources for that particular child or family that can provide assistance to them on a daily basis, which you cannot provide yourself, and that can also help in protecting that particular child or in safeguarding that particular child in times of need. For example, if the child identifies that the school is my safe space or the local community center is my safe space, if things kick off at home, the child can actually say, I'm just going to go to the library or to the local community center, and then they're actually able to talk about what's bothering them. So you need to be able to identify support networks for that particular child and for that particular family. If mom is in a domestic abusive relationship, then she should be able to actually just go down the road or go down to the shop and be supported by that particular supportive person to call the police or whatever it is that's going to be going on there. And then point number 5, as a professional, you need to make sure that you develop or establish clear boundaries with your service users. Clear, defined boundaries and expectations for all parties involved in that particular child's life helps in ensuring that the care and protection that particular child is getting is the best that they can get, including from family members, including from other professionals. So you need to make sure that there is clear boundaries, clear expectations of what needs to be happening. When it comes to these safety plans, it can actually culminate into a working together agreement that parents do sign. Remember, all this is voluntary. They should be able to participate in this voluntarily. And if they are not able to participate voluntarily, have a conversation with your senior practitioner or your manager in terms of what could be the next steps if you don't feel that they are actually voluntarily working with you, or if you feel that they are actually showing disguised compliance, really. Right. So point number 6, obviously moving on then to talk about the safety plan. You need to create a personalized safety plan for that particular child. There could be 3-4 children in the household. It doesn't necessarily mean the level of risk is the same for all children. So to an extent, your safety plans will need to be individualized, or they will need to be personalized for that particular child. They need to be tailored to that particular child's specific needs, their specific circumstances, and also the risks which are posed, the specific risk which is posed to them. So these plans should outline, strategies, how we can mitigate those risks and how we can respond in emergencies. Do they have emergency contact numbers for out of hours? Do they have emergency contact numbers for the local authority or for the police or for the fire brigade and all those kind of things? All that needs to be clear in your safety plan. Right. Point number 7 is that you need to empower the child so that they recognize and assert their rights appropriately. You need to set, obviously, personal boundaries for them, ensure that they are empowered to seek help when needed, and you need to provide them with age-appropriate education and pamphlets on safety, consent, and health relationships. That's really, really important. That's key as well. And then point number 8, for a safety plan to be a smart plan, it needs to be regularly reviewed. How do you review and monitor a safety plan? It's about having those conversations with the parents, having those conversations with the particular young person or the child, and also doing your regular visits. You can't be telling the family that I'm really concerned about what's going on when you or have only visited them once. So if you're really concerned about what's going on, you need to be regularly checking what's happening in that particular family as well. So you need to monitor the implementation of this SAFET plan, making sure that the other professionals who are aware of it exactly know what needs to be done, and when they do visit, especially the health visitor, is actually aware of what SAFET plan is in place. And then, the other important thing is to maintain confidentiality. This is really, really important, really. I'm not going to emphasize much on this because this should be clear for people who are qualified social workers, even though you're SYE, but they should understand what it means by maintaining confidentiality. You need to respect the confidentiality of the information shared by your service users or by the child, and adhere to the legal as well as the ethical guidelines which are guiding the way we work, as well as sharing of personal sensitive information with other relevant parties, really. Point number 11, you need to be culturally sensitive. Be sensitive to the cultural, ethnic, as well as religious background of the service users that you are working with, particularly the child that you are working with or the family that you are working with, and as you develop these SAFET plans. Because some of the things that you think might be applicable to this particular family may not necessarily be applicable to the other family, maybe because of different cultural, or religious, connotations which are there. So you need to be mindful of that, and you need to be respectful of their, cultural orientation as well. So your interventions needs to be culturally sensitive. That's really important. And then moving on to the next point. Right, moving on to the next section is documentation and record keeping. I'm not going to emphasize on this. The previous video which I posted is emphasizing so much on the documentation and record keeping and making sure that families are actually updated as well. With all these few words, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing, and thank you for hitting that notification bell. I hope this has been quite helpful. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.